Hi, my name is Luke Weaver. I've been drawing my whole life, and in the past year, I've become infatuated with the idea of animating. I've always loved art and seeing great character design in animated movies. And now, in a world full of all kinds of social mediums, I can see animations from non-professional artists who are a lot closer to my skill level, and that has majorly inspired me to try new things with my art. In the past, all I ever really used was a pencil and paper. But in the past year or so, I was able to have access to an Apple Pencil and an iPad. And I noticed I had an animation feature. I tried it on my own, but without any knowledge of how to do it, I was lost. I studied great animated features like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and many other older 2D animated movies. I learned a thing or two, and now after taking a semester of an animation class, I feel much more confident using different softwares and mediums to make short animations. Although I'm still figuring out animation, I'm pretty confident in my drawing ability, and my creativity really helps me design funny and memorable characters. I can draw dramatic and realistic action poses which greatly helps when I make a keyframe in an animation or when drawing a storyboard. I think in an animation studio, my skills could best be utilized in pre-production. I would love to be part of a character design team because creating funny characters and making them look like their personality is very enjoyable and comes easy to me. I could also work in the storyboard team to help come up with dramatic keyframes and ideas. I would love to work for Pixar as a studio because I feel like the majority of their work is really high quality. And I would love to work with the best of the best. I would also love to work with any studio that can make a high quality project. My favorite animated movie is probably Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I would love to work on a film even half that visually stunning. The studio that produced Spider-Man, however, also worked on far less appealing films such as the Emoji Movie, but getting into any animation career would be a dream come true nonetheless. Animation would be an amazing career, but there are many other small art jobs that I could work with. Even as a teenager, I've illustrated a children's book and had many opportunities to make money off of small commissions. And some bigger commissions too, such as designing logos for my high school wrestling team and for a medical clinic, as well as a few short animated video intros for a videography business. As a teenager, I'm still debating whether or not I would go into art as a career or keep it as a hobby, but I'm glad to have so many opportunities already to utilize my art and to help others and to help myself. So I'm going to show you here in a minute some of the artwork I've worked on, and I'll go into more detail in explaining that. This right here is an example of a sketchbook page. As you can see here, I didn't spend a lot of time and didn't put a lot of detail, but these characters I feel like are funny and they show enough character, and I think with enough time to work on them, make refined sketches, I think these could turn into great animated characters just because they're expressive, they're funny, and they kind of work well together. But these aren't necessarily the finished product. This is kind of just an idea of what I'd want to come into fruition. But so these characters right here, they have funny expressions. They look like they can move. And I think this right here is just kind of where it all starts. So this sketchbook page right here, I could take one of these characters individually, add on to them, make a refined sketch, and then later make an animation from any one of these characters. But these are kind of just ideas and what a sketchbook page looks like from me. This right here is a figure drawing. So as you can see, it's a lot less rough from my sketchbook pages, but the same thing happened where it just started from a sketchbook page and I put in more detail, fix it up. And so this right here is a character from a TV show that I watched. And I could use this figure drawing right here to make a better 2D animation or just a 2D model. And I can do a lot with this, but this is kind of just the next step after a sketch. So this is another figure drawing. This one you can see a little bit more. There's still the same detail, so it's still not finished yet. I could still color it, add more in the 2D modeling after, but this is kind of just a drawing of what the character looks like after the sketch, a little bit more refined. So yeah, that's the next. So this right here is a motion drawing, and so you can see it's the last two were stationary, right? They were just, this is what the character looks like. So this right here, I made the character in action. So you can see right here, his face is contorted, his body is moving with the gun that he's shooting. You can see you can see the shot coming out of the gun, the shell coming out of the gun. So this is kind of what would help in an animation. This could probably be used for a keyframe. And you can see later, I will turn this into a full CG model. I will use a computer program to finish the drawing. Right here in this motion drawing, you can see this one's a little bit less detailed, but you can see here the skeleton is in motion on the skateboard, popping an ollie. So same thing right here. You could use this as a keyframe in an animation after adding color and the rest of the process. But yeah, this is kind of just the next step, the motion drawing. So you can see this is a 2D CG image. So you can see I use a computer program, and I used the motion drawing that I had earlier, and I added color, I added lighting, I refined a lot of the details. So this is in a computer program, and I used a computer to do all of this. And so this is basically the next step in adding this to an animation. This right here, it could be a keyframe. In fact, I did use this in a keyframe in a later animation. And so yeah, that's the next step after motion drawing. So these right here are part of the storyboard I made for a possible animation story. So you can see they're pretty rough still, but I just have the color and the action sequences that are going to happen. So I could use this to make an animation, and this is kind of just so I know, okay, this is what happens next in the story, right? And so I could use this to make an animation, and it kind of just goes along with the story and what I want the story to look like in the end, but it is nowhere near the finished product. It's just an idea. So next up here, I'm going to show you a finished animation sequence that I had finished, and this is like the final product. I'm gonna kill you. So as you can see in my animation sequence, it's nowhere near like movie quality stuff, but I spent a lot of time in the character design mostly, and I think the flow of the each frame and the art itself is more what I was focusing on rather than the story or the sound production. But yeah, I think I'm still developing and learning, so I was just trying to come up with a short, simple story that I could get across. And I did stretch myself with the lip syncing in the animation and stuff like that. But yeah, that's kind of what it looks like all coming together. I use sketches, figure drawings, and then all of that in the end, and it comes together to make a nice animation sequence. And so I'm hoping that I can learn more and get better. Okay, so I'm going to read through a pitch Bible for a character that I came up with named Marvin. And so this is the logline. So Marvin is an ex-hitman hell-bent on getting revenge on his former boss, Alfredo. Alfredo didn't pay Marvin for a job that he did, resulting in Marvin being unable to pay for his daughter's necessary cancer treatments. Marvin goes on an action-packed and euphoric journey to avenge his daughter's avoidable death. So the target audience for this character and a possible, animation or story that I come up with for him is this is kind of what it's about. So multiple action movies are made every year. So what makes this one different? Well, because he's animated, Marvin is different from your average action hero. With beyond bizarre stunts and action sequences that I could animate, Marvin will have you hooked in a world between fiction and reality. Animated features are often seen as childish, but Marvin brings the awesome animated world to an older audience. Justified violence and action don't have a deep enough portrayal in modern animated films just because they're for younger children most of the time. So Marvin has that to offer. So the character description for Marvin is a 6-foot, 250-pound man who gets pushed around by his boss. To his enemies, Marv is a big, scary man hell-bent on killing them because of the savage monster he is. But to his family, he's a hard-working provider who cares for them with his whole heart. To the audience, he's a hero who stands up for his morals and for the little guys everywhere. Though does have savage and brutish methods of doing so. His goal is to avenge his daughter's death, and it seems justified. And then here I will show a drawing of Marv that I did. So the character I use in my animation is actually what I thought of Marvin for what I would make him look like. So I would use the same character model and everything, and I would make a different story. Obviously, he's not going to be killing the tomato, but this is kind of what I want him to look like, and kind of like the idea of what Marvin is in my description.